Good morning again. Welcome to Create Virginia and welcome to the kickoff event for the fifth Create Virginia. I can't believe we are at our fifth Create Virginia. For so many of us, the 2020 Create was the very last time we went to an in-person conference prior to COVID. It was February the 29th, a leap day last year. What a long, strange year it's been. I'm so happy to see your faces this morning. I'm sure we will get back to an in-person Create soon. But for those of you who are new to Create, welcome. Create Virginia is a conference that supports artists and performers from across the Commonwealth to improve your art by helping you get control of the business side of things. You know how to make art, and we want to help you spread the joy and thought that it provokes and help you make some money too. You can see the growing list of Create Virginia workshops that are coming up at createvirginia.com. The last thing that we will probably do this summer as part of Create is our keynote event, which will be August the 3rd in the evening. We'll be hosting New York Times technology writer Kevin Roos to talk to us about what the heck an NFT is, among other things like cryptocurrency and how those things are impacting the arts. So we're looking forward to that and all of the great titles that are coming up this summer. So keep your eye on createvirginia.com. My name is Stephanie Keener, and I am the Executive Director for the Virginia SBDC, which serves the city of Lynchburg, Amherst, Appomattox, Bedford, and Campbell counties. We're hosted here at the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, and I'm here today with Susan Brown, who is our Create Virginia Program Coordinator. Wave at us, Susan. And Tim Gosnell, our Fearless Program Leader this morning. I'll tell you a little bit more about Tim in a minute. But Create Virginia is a production of the Virginia Small Business Development Center that serves the Lynchburg region, the Academy Center of the Arts located in downtown Lynchburg, and the Lynchburg Office of Economic Development and Tourism. Today's webinar is supported by the Virginia SBDC. The Virginia SBDC has 29 centers across the Commonwealth, and our mission is to provide training and technical assistance to small businesses and entrepreneurs. The SBDC is headquartered at George Mason University and is a program that is a cooperative agreement between the U.S. Small Business Administration, premier institutions across Virginia, and our local governments. Tim, our speaker today, founded Double Tap Media to help leaders use digital marketing and social media to grow their businesses and organizations. Tim partners with business leaders to help them understand what customers are looking for so they can tell their story in such a way that people listen. He is also a talented videographer, and we're going to see some of that in action today. And started Double Tap after serving as the communications director for Blue Ridge Community Church. So Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's get you as our featured person for everyone.
Hey everybody. All right, we'll jump right on in. All right, so this morning, hopefully you have a workbook. Create VA was kind enough to print these out if you registered in time, print them out and mail them to you. But if you don't have one, there's a link to it, and I would recommend that you take a second. I'm gonna stall for just a couple minutes to give you time to print it, to get out a pen, to get out a paper, to get out the notebook, because we will be filling it out as we go along. The link will be on the page as I continue to go through these first couple slides.
Yeah, and that link will be in your email this morning. It should have already been in your email, and I am going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat as well. So
perfect. So first I'm going to start off by thanking my team. Annette Yoder, she's going to be in the chat. Annette will say hi in the chat. If you guys have questions, she knows this whole system and process. We actually implement it as a part of our agency on a regular basis. So she's very aware of it, and she is very knowledgeable. So she may be able to answer some questions. If not, she'll be curating and she'll be texting me some questions that, assuming we have time at the end, we will get to at the end. And then Chris, he's my tech support who made it possible for me to be in this tiny little circle at the bottom. And he also is our videographer. So we're going to be watching a video in a little bit, and he helped produce and edit that. They're both amazing. if anything goes right today, it is because of them. And if anything goes wrong, I can guarantee you it is my fault. So thanks, a special thanks to them. I would love to meet you guys. I can see some of your faces, but if you all take a second and just introduce yourself in the chat, where are you from and what kind of art do you create? I'd love to see you guys. I cannot chew gum and walk at the same time, so I can't really like read the chat while I'm giving the presentation. So I'd love to kind of see who's here right now, and then at the end I'll also check back into the chat. But just take a second to introduce yourself. I'd love to hear what kind of art and where you guys are from. I see Lamont is there. Oh, just in the chat box there. You can just kind of like drop it in. We got Lamont here and Miriam. Monica. Monica's an oil painter and sculptor. Man, I wish I could do one of those things, much less both of those things. We got Kathleen. Kathleen, let's see. I am terrible, and these are popping in. Okay. We got an animated video. Ooh, that's awesome. Cindy's here. Josephine, abstract oil, and cold wax painter. This is amazing. You guys are awesome. Let's see. Gifts painting, children's books. I love it. I love it. We have Leslie and dance. And then we have Teresa Duncan, and we got wood and other media. So, well, super excited to have you guys all here. I'm in Lynchburg. I imagine some of you from here. Hopefully some of you guys are from Richmond and around. Top back over here. Let's see. I've done this presentation a couple of times, and there's a couple of things that are different this time around. One, we've adapted this content specifically for artists. This process was created for our agency for serving our many clients and Facebook pages. And then I was like, this would be beneficial for some other businesses. So I started doing the presentation. And then when I was asked to do this, I was like, artists, you guys are a special breed and you guys are very specific in what you do. And so Create Virginia was kind enough to be able to fund this so that we could change and adapt this content specifically for you guys. And then we're breaking it up into 2 sessions. So there's the session today, and then there's the session on Thursday. They're both an hour long. And I'm really a stickler for time. So I'm gonna make sure to only keep you guys for an hour. We'll wrap up a little bit before the top of the hour. So Stephanie has a little bit of time at the end, but we will finish up on time. And then next week, we're offering one-to-one sessions. So we have today and Thursday this week, and the next week on Tuesday and Thursday, you can register for a 30-minute one-on-one session where we can talk through the specific application of this process for you, look at your content calendar, your post categories, brainstorm marketing ideas, any of that kind of stuff. I just want to be a help to you guys. So I'll give you the link for that at the end. And then there is one other thing that has changed since the last time I gave this presentation. And that is, last time I didn't have a mustache. Now, why I have a mustache now, I don't know. I'm just going to blame COVID and masks and all that kind of thing. But that's the last thing. I didn't say everything was better. It's just a little bit different. So, all right. So we're going to jump in to our content. First, this process came about because we're managing lots of Facebook pages. I started off with just one, and I was just working by myself. And I was doing the content day to day. And it's like, depending on what comes up, you're like having to hurry and rush and try to remember that you have to post. And I don't have the time to edit the post as well as I want or get it proofed, and there's errors and there's all this stuff. And so then we started working like a week ahead. So I got to this point where I was doing a week ahead. And then as we started to build our team and our client base grew, then we started working a month ahead at a time. And then there came a point where I was like, well, hey, what if we tried to do 3 months of content planning at one time? Like, how would that work? Because each time that we kind of jumped the increments of how much we were planning, it seemed to get more and more efficient. And so I proposed it to my team, and they're like, Tim, you're crazy, but we're willing to give it a shot. And they did it. And what happened was planning 3 months didn't take that much more than planning out 1 month of content. And so we were gaining a ton of efficiency in doing it that way. And so since then, we've been doing it that. Now, with COVID has thrown a wrench in a lot of things. So some of the planning ahead for some of our like restaurant clients and those sorts of things were changing so rapidly. We've gone to more of a monthly planning now. But as soon as things get back into normal, we're going to go right back to our quarterly planning. So the goal of this whole system is help you to spend less time creating content for your social media accounts and make it more consistent and more effective. Consistency, you're going to hear that over and over again as we talk today, because consistency is the name of the game. Consistency, social media is about having and building relationships at scale. And you can't build and have relationships with people unless you show up on a regular and consistent basis. And so the whole hope and plan behind this is to help you build and maintain a system that helps you keep that consistency. Social media to me is a lot like a gremlin, right? It starts off cute, it's fun, it's in, you know, you enjoy doing it and all that kind of stuff, and then before long it's turned into this little monster that is sucking up all of your time. You haven't posted for a while and you start to feel guilty because you haven't posted, and it becomes this burden. This thing that started off cute and started off fun now feels like this burden and this weight and this thing that you almost want to avoid sometimes because you don't know what to post, you don't have time to post, and so it turns into this monster. Real quick, this is a giveaway opportunity in the chat. I would love to hear if you know what a gremlin is called before it turns into a gremlin, because I was like, I didn't even know that it had a name, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, this is a gremlin. Well, what's this? This doesn't. So this has a name. So Lamont got it. Lamont got it like that. So there's a $50 gift card that'll come your way. Annette will reach out to you, Lamont, and a Mogwai. I had to look it up and I had to figure out how to spell it. So we'll get you a gift card, Lamont. So be looking for Annette to reach out to you. So great job. All right. So let's see. As we're getting going, I have a confession to make. I'm not really an artist. Like, I'm not an artist. You guys are artists. Artists are amazing people who have depth. I'm not a deep person, who have like motivation and meaning and all sorts of things that are just very admirable. And I'm a business person. Now, I did want to show a couple of things, because I do have some artistic background. I started off in high school. I learned photography, and I love photography. I'm old enough that I was shooting film on an old SLR, Pentax K1000, and I absolutely loved it. And so in my early 20s, I was like, hey, how can I turn this into a career? So I started getting into weddings, and I loved photography. But this is, by the way, that's my cute wife right there. This is 10 plus years ago, and that's me at a wedding. But what I quickly realized was I hated it. I absolutely hated weddings. It's stressful. It's long days. I'm not great with people and interacting and organizing large groups of people and all that stuff. There's so much that's not in your control, but I still love photography. So then I was like, okay, well, I like doing portrait photography. So I moved into doing editorial portraits, which I absolutely love. But what I quickly realized was I'm in Lynchburg, and there's not a huge market for editorial photography in Lynchburg. And I didn't want to travel. So I was like, well, that's out. Well, I had fun doing it and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't going to be something that I could make a living with. So then what I started to do was I moved into more of like business type stuff. I did some architectural real estate stuff. I did product photography, shot some rings. And here's the thing. This shows how much of not an artist I am, because there's like a very technical aspect to photography. These are some of my favorite images right here, like product photos and like getting the light just right and the editing and all that kind of stuff I really enjoy. And then I got a restaurant client and I started doing social media, and social media really became a means for me to sell photography on a recurring basis, which I absolutely loved. So that's kind of my artistic journey right there. But I kind of view there's this spectrum, there's this mindset spectrum. And on one far side is the artist, which I imagine many of you are pretty far on the left side towards the artist. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's this business side, which I'm pretty far to the business side. And they both have really good things about them. Artists have that meaning and that thought and that wanting to share their perspective and their worldview and create beautiful things. The business person, on the other hand, I'm concerned about efficiency, process. I'm concerned about profit margin and all sorts of things like that are much more pragmatic and those sorts of things. So we have this kind of divide. Now, I have people in my life who are amazing artists. Chris on our team, who's our video producer and editor, he's more of an artist, and he helps show me the value of hey, let's not worry about efficiency as much for this. Let's worry about the beauty of it, right? Hey, let's worry about the finished product more than we are concerned about the bottom line. And we have to balance each other out in that. And I have an aunt that I'm very close with, and she does the same thing. She says, hey, Tim, your systems are creating too much of the same type of thing, and you need to vary it because it's just not as special that way. And so I see that value on the artistic side and the artist mindset, and they help bring me closer to the middle. And what I'm hoping with today and with sharing this system and process that we've developed is that those of you that are on the farther to the artist side of the spectrum, that you'll maybe see some of the value and some systems and some processes that maybe you wouldn't normally do, maybe wouldn't be a normal part of how you would operate, but can provide a lot of value for the business side of your art and your creativity. So that's the hope, that's the goal for today. But I did want to confess that I wasn't an artist because I do have a different perspective than you all. And this is not something it's Tim's way or the highway. This is not the only way to do it. The goal is consistency. And however you can do that, maybe you can pick apart some things that you work really well for you, and then leave some of the stuff that doesn't. But I want you to find something that's going to help you improve your consistency and make regular social media become a little bit more efficient for you and more. Again, the key here is consistency. So, okay. So as a part of this too, I wanted to talk to some artists. Since I fully recognize that I'm not the artist, I wanted to bring in some artists who have already done this really well, right? Some artists who do a great job with social media. They have, a lot of followers. They're getting a really good engagement, and that's led them to getting the type of work and the type of jobs that they want to get paid to do, right? Because art is great, but if we can't make a living do it, it's going to be this constant struggle to be able to survive. That's where the starving artist mindset, that's where the starving artist comes from, is because, there's not that energy that's coming. And so social media has the power to bring that together. So we set up an interview with 4 artists, and that's what I'm going to get ready to play for you. And this first video, we're going to have a video today and a video on Thursday. It's just to introduce you to them and to maybe hear about their art, how they got into social media, and then maybe some of the benefits that have come out of their social media presence for them. And so these are some amazing artists from around Virginia, and I'm going to introduce them to you now. Give me just a second. I'll swap this over.
Hello, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Pleasure to meet you as well.
Hey, Tim, how are you? Doing good. I'm doing good. Good to talk to you.
Trying to psych myself up for the interview.
Well, you're going to do awesome. I know it.
My name is Emily Herr. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I paint murals.
My name is Rob J. I'm an R&B singer, songwriter, and entrepreneur. I'm from Norfolk, Virginia.
Hi, my name is Hamilton Glass. I'm based in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm a public artist.
My name is Elizabeth Gray, and I live in Central Virginia, and I'm a lettering artist and illustrator.
How did you get started with painting murals? Like, how and where did that all begin?
I've always been an art kid, taking the art elective or whatever. My first outdoor mural was Plaza Art in Richmond. Had a small contest of if you send us a mural design and we pick it, then we'll give you $200 or $500 or something and cover the materials. And I was like, this is the biggest deal ever. This is amazing.
All of my family members and cousins all do something with the arts, whether it's playing the drums or piano. I kind of got my roots from there.
I'm actually a pastry chef by trade, and I went to culinary school, did the whole thing. It was a lot of fun, but there were some life changes, and I didn't want to work every single weekend for the rest of my life. So I kind of needed to pivot, and I decided while I was working a 9-to-5 just to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my life at the age of 22, I got into hand lettering as a hobby. I
used to be an architect. I graduated from Hampton University as an architect, but I always knew I didn't want to be an architect because I thought that I fell for the starving artist stereotype. And
what did you mean by that? You fell for the starving artist thing?
Well, I think there's a stereotype that artists don't make much money, and that's very much a false narrative.
What was your first social media platform that you got on?
DeviantArt.
DeviantArt, okay.
Yeah, that was the platform for sharing art. And Facebook was never really like how I shared art stuff. I think I went from DeviantArt to Tumblr to Instagram, kind of.
I started everything on Facebook. And I remember asking my mom, I was like, hey, can I get a Facebook? Can I get a Facebook? She's like, but she's like, you know what? You can. So once I started getting Facebook, it was like, that's where I really started knowing how to like, you know, make connections with people.
I'm very much an introvert. So I wouldn't be on Facebook or Instagram or any social media if there was no art for me. So my main objective was just to show what I was doing.
I think it was like 2015, 2016, I just liked to post on Instagram because it was fun and I was posting random things. And I was at my parents' house one day and I just grabbed like a piece of printer paper and I was like, I want to hand letter this quote. And I didn't know it was called hand lettering at the time. I didn't know I knew that I liked words on a paper or like a quote arranged somehow. I didn't know what it was called. I was like, I'm just going to draw these Ed Sheeran song lyrics. So I did. And I took a picture and shared it and people seemed to really like it. I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe this could like be a thing.
For me, I think the best form of it is that it serves as kind of this record. It is an album of like my work over time.
You know, at first it starts off where, you know, you're just connecting with your friends. But as you become a business person, you know that it's more than just your friends that's going to support your business. So you just kind of start thinking of ways to reach, you know, larger areas.
I just started noticing how people started to gravitate to her. And the more that I showed that, the more people would email me and ask me to come look at their space and, you know, to see if I could help them in any way. And so I started realizing, hey, this is kind of marketing.
Most of my clients find me through social media or from people sharing my work to their accounts or to their stories or whatever. I got to work with like TikTok themselves and they hired me to create a bunch of content and promote their app on Instagram, I think 2 years ago when it was more up and coming. That was a lot of fun and definitely a lot of money, which was nice. I got to work with Dyson, which was very cool. I got to work with USA Network and create a promo video for a new TV show. I got to make some content for Alicia Keys' skincare brand on like their TikTok account.
A lot of modeling opportunities that came from there. I got to model some popular brands. Forever 21 Men, clothing line by Chris Brown called Black Pyramid. There's another brand called All Star Sports. I actually have a feature out with the baby right now, and I was actually able to land that through social media. My manager was just up scrolling, you know what I'm saying? He asked me, he was like, hey, we're going to make it work. We're going to get you guys working together. I can almost say 100%, like if social media wasn't around, that may not have even been an option for me, you know?
I think having like this presence and having like this, you know, directory of all my work is part of why some people will talk to me in real life. You know, like maybe somebody else is painting a mural out on the street. I'm like, oh, who is that? Like, what are they doing? I want to go talk to them. Like literally showing somebody like my Instagram account and being like, here's what my work looks like. I promise I'm like a real, like I'm a real one. I promise like I'm doing this like you are, like you can see the proof. Like that will change the conversation pretty actively.
All right, so those are our artists. Just a special thanks to them for taking the time to do that. So, all right, we're gonna jump into the notebook. So go ahead and turn to page 2. And we're gonna start off by deciding how frequently are we going to post. And so we're going to walk through a series of reasons and methods on making that decision on how frequently we're going to post. So when deciding how frequently you should post, we recommend you consider how much time, production capabilities, and budget you have to invest in your social media. You know, as I said, this program was originally created for business owners, and artists are a little bit different. You know, businesses are going to maybe have a little bit more on the resources side. I anticipate that the majority of you are not going to have a ton on the resources side beyond some time and some skill, but maybe you do. And I think it's very reasonable. I know artists who do have teams of people and people who can help them. So I don't think that that's unreasonable, but don't feel bad. I anticipate a lot of our answers to these questions are going to be a little bit further to the left. But time, resources, it's all me, baby. It's just me, all by myself. Or we have a paid communications team. And I would say for this number 1 on page 2, if you work a full-time job and you're doing art, you're moonlighting with your art after the hours, then you're probably going to be all the way to the 1. If you're able to do your art full time, it is your main job, it is your main source of income, you're able to put, around 30, 40, 50 hours a week into your art, then you're going to be closer to the 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then if you do have multiple people who work for you, and then you're going to be closer to the 10, right? So take a second and circle that on number 1 on page 2. All right, so next we're going to look at production resources. What sort of photo, video, or graphics capabilities do you have? It's me and my iPhone, or we have a team of creative professionals. Now, if you have photography skills, you have graphic design skills, you know how to use Photoshop, Illustrator, you can edit your own video, then you're going to be not a 1 because it is just you, but you have some training, skill, and experience that's going to bring you closer to the middle, right? And then maybe you don't have a paid team of professionals, but maybe you have some other creative friends. You're a painter, but you have an artist friend, and you guys exchange work and do stuff for each other and work back and forth. Well, then again, it's going to bring you closer to the middle. And then maybe you do have resources, and you have a team of people who work with or for you. And then that's going to bring you up closer to the 10 side. So go ahead and for number 2, circle what applies to you there. And then for number 3 on page 2, financial resources. Do you have a budget for things like props, contractors, digital assets, etc.? In terms of money, we have no money. What is a budget? Or budget is of no concern. Now, I have never met anyone or any business organization where budget is no concern. Maybe someone in this group is the first time exception to that, but I imagine, some of us are going to be a little bit closer to the left side. Do you have some money that you can put into investing in your social media, investing in equipment, investing in contractors, or are you going to have to bootstrap it? And bootstrapping is not bad. You can do a lot of really creative stuff. And here's the great thing about where social media is at today. People don't want super highly polished stuff. That's not the most engaging stuff. Some of the most engaging stuff, like with some of our social media clients, we do user generated content, which is we ask people who've taken photos that apply to our client, and we ask them if we can use them. And a lot of them look terrible. Like they're not the best looking photo, but they engage better because they look like the type of content that other people are posting online. When we post one of our team, we have photographers on our team who take beautiful photos. And when we post some of those beautiful photos, they're not quite as engaging because they look almost like an ad, right? So not having a budget or not having a lot of resources, it isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when consistency is the goal, we want to set realistic expectations for ourselves. And so if you're all the way a 1, all the way down on all 3 of these questions, but you're saying, hey, I want to post twice a day, 7 days a week, well, that's going to be hard to maintain. And so when we set this high goal for ourselves, and then we struggle to keep up with it, we get discouraged, and then we stop posting for a month, right? And so we want to evaluate what our resources are and set some realistic goals. I would rather you all set a goal of something that's very attainable, like post once or twice a week, and be able to achieve that for 3 months and then bump it up to 3 to 5 times a week than to start at a higher goal, okay? So now we are going to move on to page number 3. So the other thing that we're going to evaluate when we're deciding on post frequency is we're going to evaluate our audience size. The larger your audience, the more beneficial it is for you to post more frequently. So I'm going to try to explain this chart to you guys. The blue line represents pages, and this is specifically referencing Facebook, but it's going to roughly apply to some of the other platforms as well, specifically Instagram. TikTok is going to be a bit of an anomaly on this. It probably, like if you had some popularity on YouTube or that was a channel that you're interested in, this would probably generally apply as well. But for people with less than 10,000 page likes on Facebook, for every time that they posted more than 5 times in 1 month, so roughly once a week, the engagement on each of those posts went down, right? So they weren't super rewarded for posting more frequently because each time they posted, the engagement on each post went down. Well, why does that happen? Well, Facebook wants business pages to pay to show up in people's newsfeed, right? And so the more that you post, they're not going to just keep on putting you in the newsfeed. They're going to continue to restrict that a bit because they know that you're a business if you're posting from a business account, and then they want you to pay to play. They want you to pay to show up in that newsfeed. The exception to this is if you have, I mean, there's still that rule, but if you have more than 10,000 likes on Facebook, there is a little bit of a reward for posting more frequently because you have a larger audience and you have more people that content can be showed to. So you can post a little bit more frequently and you get something out of it. So again, I just want to relieve some of the pressure. I think a lot of us, when we think about social media, are like, hey, I need to be posting once a day. But we want to look at your resources and say, hey, do you have the resources to do that? And then B, we want to say, there's a diminishing returns if you don't have a huge following on Facebook yet. And that consistency is more important than posting a lot. So, so we're on page 3, and on each one of the sections for Facebook, Instagram, and if there's another platform that you're on or interested in, like TikTok or YouTube, then go ahead and write that in and circle the appropriate amount of likes or followers that you have on those various platforms. So take just a second to do that. Great. All right, so now at the bottom of page 3, it's time to decide. Now decide how many times per week you plan to post and circle it below. The more the answers to the previous 2 sections are to the left, the lower your post frequency should be. If you have less than 2,000 followers, consistently posting 1 to 3 times per week is great. Like, have no shame in that, okay? So there's no art or science to this, and I would prefer that you choose something that's lower than higher and get your feet underneath you and get some consistency and then bump it up over time. But go ahead and take a second and circle that. And if you will, in the chat, go ahead and just put the number that you picked so I can see what people are picking. How frequently are you choosing to post, and just pop that in the chat, and I want to take a look and see what people are thinking. Lamont's doing 2 times a week. I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. Monica is going to be 4 to 5. I can tell Monica is an achiever. We got Carl is going to be 2 times per week. A lot of 2s and 1s. I think that's great. And I hopefully this is relieving some of that pressure that we tell ourselves that, like, I got to be posting all the time. I got to be posting all the time. When we put a number to it, we can know if we're achieving that goal or not. When we leave it kind of more ambiguous, then we're not sure if we're achieving it or not. So I think that's fantastic. Great job, Eric. Judith, she's got 2 to 3 times per week. That's great. All right. In our workbook, we're going to move on to page 4, and we're looking at days and times of post. So now we know how many times per week we're going to post. Now we're going to evaluate when are we going to post those posts, okay? So number 1, days and time. If there are particular times of the week where people are more likely to interact with you or your art in real life, or online, I'll add or online, then those are times you are more likely to engage. They are more likely to engage with you on social media. So it's ideal to post during those times. So let me give you some examples. If you're a musician and you do live music every Friday, right? That would be an example of that. If you are a painter or a photographer and you sell some of your work at a farmer's market on Saturday mornings, then that would be a time to write down. These are times that are consistent. This isn't like I'm doing a one-off show on a Tuesday, because we're going to get to that later on. This is, are there consistent times every week where you're interacting with people? And I said online because, especially during COVID, like maybe you're a musician and every Friday you do a Facebook Live where you play live music, right? Well, that would be an example, right? So take some time. And this might not apply to many of you, but there are going to be a handful of you that there is a regularly recurring time that you're going to be interacting with people, and go ahead and jot that down there. All right. Now we're going to move on to B on page 4. In addition to things that are unique to you, it's helpful to also consider the platform as well as the demographics of your followers. So here's this chart. I'm going to try to explain this in a way that makes sense. The lighter the color blue, the lighter the blue to white, is going to be the lowest times of engagement. And then the darker the blue, that means it's going to be the highest times for engagement. Now, this particular example that I'm using is for Facebook, and it's global engagement, meaning it's not pulling any particular demographic, region or age or gender or any of those sorts of things. In general, as you can see, Saturday and Sunday are the least engaged days. Now, I'm going to take a guess and say they're least engaged because people are active, they're busy, they're with their friends, they're with their families, they're at the movies, or they were at the movies. So hopefully soon they'll be back at the movies. You know, they're doing things, and so they're on the platform less. Monday is the next least engaged. And my guess on that is people are getting back into the swing of things at work. They're digging through their inbox. They're catching up on some projects and what they missed over the weekend. So they're a little bit busier. So they're not quite as engaged online. Now, Tuesday through Friday, you can see there's a little right in the middle there, there's a lot more dark blue. Well, my guess is people have settled into their work week, and late morning to early afternoon, you know, around lunchtime, a little bit before and a little bit after, is the most engaged time. People take some time in the middle of the day, they take a break, they hop on their phone, they hop on Instagram, they hop on Facebook, right? So those are great times to post because you're going to get more engagement then. Now, there's a link at the bottom of page 4 on your workbook that goes to an article where I pulled this from, and they break this down per platform, and they also break it down for various demographics. Like, for instance, they break it down for, I think, a couple of different age groups. They break it down for nonprofit organizations and those sorts of things. And then also there are, you know, different social media management tools like Hootsuite or Later or those sorts of things may also, as well as Facebook themselves, will tell you when your specific followers are most active. So those are all things like, so if you're posting twice a week, we want to decide based on, hey, when are you interacting with people, and then when are your people most active on the platform? And so I'm going to give you some examples of how we're going to decide that. In just a second, we're going to move on to page 5. And I'll kind of break that down. Your posting schedule should be consistent throughout the week, and this helps you optimize organic reach. Okay. All right. So this is, I'm going to try to explain organic, or like Facebook's algorithm and organic reach and how it roughly works. Now, it's a black box. It changes all the time, but I think this is a pretty decent way to explain it. Now, first, organic reach. What is organic reach? Organic is organic versus paid. So organic just basically means free. So free reach, and reach is your content showing up in people's news feeds, right? That's where 99% of people see your content, is in their news feed. So organic reach is free showing up in people's news feed. So the water, like the water represents organic reach, right? And then this picture, this dispenser thing represents the organic reach that you have available to you in your page. And a glass here represents a post, right? So if you were to do 3 posts in one day, and that first glass, that first post would get filled up all the way. The second one would get mostly filled up, but you just filled up one glass and it wants to save a little bit for if there's anything else. And then the last glass is only going to get a little bit because you've sufficiently drained this pot. Now, you have more organic reach dripping in, but it's coming in at a very slow rate, and you're draining it faster than it's filling up. So it ends up that your posts aren't getting the full amount of organic reach that would be ideal. Okay. Now, if we did those same 3 posts, but instead of posting them all in one day, we did one on Monday. We do one on Monday, drip, 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 drip. This reservoir has time to fill up. Then we do another one on Wednesday, drip, 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 drip. This reservoir has time to fill up, and we get a full glass on Wednesday too. And then by the time Friday comes around, we're able to get a third full glass. So that consistency enables us to maximize organic reach. It's not only good for the algorithm and organic reach, it's also good for developing relationships with people. If you saw somebody for once a week versus 3 times a week, you have more opportunities to build and grow your relationship with them when you're seeing them more frequently. Okay, so now it's time to decide. Now, for this exercise and for now, like, you know, I'm recommending that you spend some time looking at your specific page, you know, looking at the types of people that buy your art, engage with your art, show up to your shows, looking at some charts like this chart here and going to that link. And, you know, if you're more active on Instagram and your audience is younger, considering all those things. But based on just kind of real roughly what you know, go ahead and pick when you want to post. Now, I'm going to walk you through a couple examples. So let's say you're the artist that sells stuff at the farmer's market on Saturday mornings. Then I'm either going to pick to post Friday evening to remind people ahead of time to go see you at the farmer's market, or I'm going to pick Saturday morning so people see that right away, and the people that are at the farmers market engage with me. So that's one way to think about it. And then if I'm posting on Friday evening or Saturday morning, then I'm going to pick a date that's going to give me some real consistency, in that frequency, right? So that we can maximize it. So if I'm posting on, let's say, Friday evening, then I'm also going to post sometime on probably Monday or Tuesday, right? And if all things being equal, if I don't have any other in-person stuff, I'm just going to pick afternoon, right around noon. Because as we looked at that other chart, we saw that, noontime on Tuesdays when people start getting more active on there. So that's just roughly. And just go ahead and pick some stuff that applies that just off the top of your head that you would think would be best. And you can spend some time, tonight or tomorrow before Thursday, kind of diving into some of that stuff more. All right. If you guys have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I have another section I'm going to go through. This is all that we're doing in the workbook today. And the rest of what I'm going to be going through is kind of stuff that I've added just for you guys as artists. And we'll talk through this. But if you do have questions, be sure to ask those in the chat. All right. So how we typically do this for businesses, and what I recommend is we create this content calendar that we're going to get to on Thursday. And then from that content calendar, we create a shot list, right, of different photos or videos that we want. And then we go out in one day, really, and in a couple hours, we shoot all the photos that we need for that 3-month quarter, right? But for artists, this is not going to work for you guys, right? Because you need to be gathering stuff all along the way. Your art pieces sometimes might take days or weeks to complete, or you might be doing a series of shows over a series of weeks. So you can't just go out in one day. I mean, you could, but the content's not going to be as good as if you capture along the way. So I kind of came up with this content creation cycle that I think would be really important for you guys to follow. Well, first, we want to create. We want to create art, right? We want to be performing. We want to be writing songs. We want to be painting pictures. We want to be taking pictures. Whatever that is, we want to be creating the art. Then we want to capture it, right? We want to take photos and videos of it. And then we want to share it, right? So that's kind of the cycle that we want to do. We want to do that on a regular basis, right? So I'm going to dive into a little bit more detail on each one. We want to create the type of work that you want to be paid to do, right? So let's say you're a photographer and you're shooting weddings, but you hate weddings, right? I can identify with this. I hated weddings. I didn't want to do weddings. Well, if I keep just taking wedding photos and I keep just posting wedding photos, what kind of work is going to continue to come to me? I'm going to continue to get weddings, right? So if I am that photographer and I want to start doing architectural or landscape, let's say I want to do landscape. Well, then what should I start doing? I should start creating the type of landscape photography that I want to be paid to do. And then I should start exclusively posting the type of landscape photography that I want to get paid to do, right? A couple of things with that. Well, one, like if you still need to maintain the art that people are currently paying you for, maybe you create a secondary Instagram account or a secondary Facebook page where you branch it off. So you kind of look at one as more a business. This is how I'm making a living. And then I'm going to try to grow this other thing on the side, how I would like to make a living, right? But because you might still need the wedding work to make a living. Now, let's say, I got this idea from Elizabeth Gray, who was one of the artists that we interviewed. And let's say that you want to do something like mural art. And to find enough walls to let people paint you on, and B, it's going to take a lot of time to paint those, right? So it might not be reasonable to just do that on a regular basis to have enough content, and it might be expensive and it might be very time consuming. So what she did was she wanted to do, she does the hand drawn stuff, but she wanted to do more mural work. So she did something hand drawn on paper or on her iPad. Then she took a picture of her and with a wall behind her, and then she photoshopped that art onto the wall. And so that's a great example of a way to create the type of work that you want to get paid to do. But it's kind of like taking a little bit of a shortcut, minimum viable product, like a way to get there on a budget, a time budget, a resource budget. So I thought that was a great example. And another way to apply that would be like, let's say you want to design t-shirts, like you love designing t-shirts, you want to design t-shirts. You don't have to print the shirt every time. You can design the work and mock it up. Or let's say you want to do some product stuff or whatever it is. You can design the type of thing, but you don't actually have to do it all the way. You can find a shorter way to get there. But either way, we got to show people the type of work that you want to do. And here's the other great thing about this whole cycle, I think, for you guys, is that the creation process and creating the art and the social media kind of go hand in hand. You need the art to have stuff to post to social media, which can motivate you to create more art more frequently, right? And as you create art more frequently, what's going to happen? You're going to get better at your craft, right? You're going to find your voice, your style, your techniques that are going to work best for you. And then thirdly, people are going to start to see your work, know your work, and they're going to want to pay you to do your work, right? But they're not going to do that until they can see the stuff that you do and you have that style that they want. So the creation process to basically fuel your social media will also fuel your art and your creative endeavors there. So they're really, really, really connected. So we want to create the type of work that we want to be paid to do. And then we want to capture the process before, during, and after, right? Like think of your website as like a gallery where you want to show all of your finished artwork, right? But social media, we want to see the how-to, like how did you get there? We want to see the blank wall before you paint the mural. We want to see the sketch that inspired. We want to hear the story about the behind the scenes. It's a really interesting thing about humanity that I've realized is that we like to watch people do things that we're never going to do, right? Like I like to watch people cook. I'm not going to cook. Like I cook eggs. If my wife is not home, we get eggs or grilled cheese, right? But I will watch a cooking show. I'll watch welding on Facebook. I'm never ever going to weld. I'll watch potters. I'll watch painters. Like there's so many things that I watch just because it's interesting. We like it. Show people that side, show people that process, bring them into it. You know, a lot of times it elevates the value of what you're doing too, because when people just see a finished product, they don't understand all the skill and hard work that goes into it. So that really gives you an opportunity to do that. So show them the process, capture it along the way. And then we want to share at a consistent pace, which we're going to talk about the whole time. The whole goal of this is consistency. So we have to share it. If you're creating the best art in the world, right, but you never share it and no one ever sees it, then you're not going to get paid to do it, right? So we've got to share it. I use a lot of weird water illustrations, and I'm not really sure why. But here's another water illustration. What we want to do here is we want to build a library of content. And how we do that is the water represents your content, right? And this bucket becomes your library of content. And so your content creation is going to happen in spurts. Like maybe you do a mural. Let's say it's a smaller mural and you can get it done in one day. So you're doing everything in one day. Let's just pretend you're starting with the blank wall. You're doing a sketch. You're painting it on the wall and it's done in one day. What some people will do is they'll take that cup of water, which is that content that they just created from doing that thing, and they'll just dump it all out in one shot, right? One day, one post, here it is. Here's a picture of the wall before. Here's a picture of my sketch. Here's a picture of just the outline of the mural. And here's the finished product, right? All in one post. It's just all gone. I look at that and I'm like, that's 3, 4, 5 posts that just got poured out like that. So if some of you are struggling to post consistently, part of it is you might be dumping too much at one time. And what we really want to do is we want to take that content, put it into the bucket, and then let it slowly drip out, right? And so we want to let that level of content that's in the bucket, which is probably going to be your phone camera roll, right? We want to let that build up so that when it comes to the post planning, which we're going to get to on Thursday, you have a bunch of photos that you can kind of go through and pull for this stuff. But yeah, it always breaks my heart. I'll see an organization or an individual or an artist and they just do these giant posts where they just post this whole thing. And now they have to work so much harder to create the next content because they're just dumping it out so quickly. When if you stream it out, you can get a lot more bang for your buck. We want to milk each project for all it's worth because you guys work hard on it and people will appreciate it so much more if you kind of spread it out like that. So there's 2 things. 1, we want to spread it out like I'm talking about. But 3, we want to take as many photos as we can of that one piece. And I'm going to give you an example of what we do. You saw the picture of the food earlier. So when we take photos of food for a restaurant, that chef, that restaurant, they took the time to create this beautiful dish, right? So if we just took one picture of that and then sometimes we get to eat it, sometimes the staff gets to eat it, then eat it, then that's, we get one post out of it. But what we do is we say, hey, take that plate, put it on a table in the restaurant, and take a picture from above and take it kind of wide, and take another picture from above and take it kind of tight. All right, now go to the side and take a picture, take it kind of wide, and then take another one kind of tight. Now go up at an angle and take one kind of wide and take one kind of tight. Now take that same plate and take it from the table and move it to the bar so it looks different. And do the same thing. Picture from above, wide, tight, side, at an angle. Now take it outside. Now pass the dish around. We're gonna have somebody hold that dish. We're gonna take a picture where you can see their face. We're gonna take one up close so you can just see their hands. And we'll take tons of pictures. Now, if that menu item stays on the menu for years, we will literally be able to use those photos from that one dish that was made for 5+ years. We have a restaurant that we started working with 5 years ago, and they are still using the photos, and they don't have to repeat. It's not like they're just posting the same photo over and over again. From the viewer standpoint, like, they think that that's a different dish. Like, you never know. So how does this apply to you guys? I think it's worth thinking through ahead of time. What are all of the different types of photos and shots that you can take along the way, and creating some sort of project content checklist, right? And then roughly trying to follow that along the way. If, you know, we rely really heavily on checklists because, you know, when we're in the moment, even with checklists, things get forgotten, right? So we're way more likely to remember if we have it. And I don't know how detailed, I tend to think that artists probably don't do a lot of checklists, but maybe you already have some sort of process that you follow for your art. Then just kind of add this in as a part of that process. You know, I'm always going to take photos of my design sketches, you know, at the beginning of the sketch, in the middle of the sketch, and then when the sketch is complete. I'm always going to take a picture of the blank wall for the mural before I start. I'm always going to get a selfie. Like, I'm always going to get a selfie in front of the blank wall, and I'm going to get just the blank wall, right? You try to brainstorm ahead of time. How can I take as many photos throughout this process as possible? Now, right away when you share it, you may only share 3, right? You may only share it before, during, and after. But now you have all this other stuff. And in a year, when you're getting ready to go on a month-long vacation because your business is doing so well and you have this flexibility in life and you want to go down to Cancun, you have some content in your bucket that you can pull out and you can tell a new story about that project. You can share a little close-up of the mural that has a detail that was really meaningful to you, and you can talk about that. You have all the options. So brainstorming a checklist like this ahead of time is just going to really help you if you follow that for each. And then the next time you think of a new photo that you hadn't thought of before, add it to the checklist. And this can be kind of like an ever-growing opportunity. I thought we were going to have time for questions, and I've run my mouth so long that we don't have a ton of time. I don't see a ton of questions in here. So that's great. Hopefully that just means I'm answering everything. But
just
next week,
so now we know you a genius.
Oh, well, great. So now we know how many times a week we're going to post. We roughly know what days we're going to post, and we know how to capture that content along the way. So Thursday, what we're going to do is we're going to take that bucket of content and we're going to figure out how to distribute it over 3 months. And there's like a little process that we have developed for that. So we'll finish up this workbook. We'll hear another video from our artists, and hopefully you'll be able to plan out 3 months worth of content. So awesome. I will pass it back to you, Stephanie. If anyone has any questions, I think there's a couple that are related to the workshop and stuff like that. I'll let you address that, Stephanie. Oh, wait, hold on. I have another thing I wanted to say. Thanks to the Create Virginia team. They've done a ton of work. They put a ton into this. Stephanie and Susan, I mean, give them a virtual round of applause. You know, put some claps in the chat. They have done an amazing work just making all this happen. So thanks to them. And then, last thing, I know I have more. I pretended I was done. The one-on-ones, if you do want to schedule a time to just hang out and brainstorm with me for half an hour, those are available. You go to doubletapmedia.com/one-on-one. I think they're also going to email out the link, but I just wanted to go ahead and give that to you there as well. All right, Stephanie, back to you.
Yeah. So Judith did have a question. How do you know when to move from the organic content to paid content? But that feels like something you might be covering on Thursday. Is that true?
I really don't cover paid stuff at all.
Okay.
And I am a huge fan of paid stuff. Here's what I tell my clients. Content, it depends. Here's what it depends on. For me, it depends on how much time do you have, right? Like, do you have time? Creating content's expensive. And then, so if you have money and you're short on time and you want to start reaching specific people, then I really love paying to get into the feed. The thing is, some people get upset that you have to pay Facebook advertising dollars. I mean, my perspective is, like, historically, you had to pay to be on TV, you had to pay to be in a newspaper, you had to pay to be on a magazine. It's only relatively shortly that we're getting stuff for free, and we got used to it very quickly. And now we're like, how dare we have to pay? So I'm actually
The elbow.
What is that?
Just paying the elbow.
Yep. So I'm a big fan of it. And so if you have the resources and you would like to reach more people, you need to have a strategy. You need to know what you're doing. But I'm a very big fan of it. We actually do it for all of our clients because I think it's that important.
Yeah. So yes, you are already signed up for Thursday. It should be the same Zoom link. That is one of the questions in the chat. Hey, Cameo, I think that Annette answered your question in the chat already. So if you've got something else, let me know. So yeah, we'll see you back here at 9 a.m. on Thursday. You will be getting a follow-up message from Create Virginia. Susan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, we will send out a link to the one-on-one for sign up. So if you didn't hop on that right now, we will send that out. We're also going to post this recording within the next day or so, because if you have friends, other artists that you think would benefit from this, we want them to watch this and they can sign up to hop on part number 2 on Thursday.
Yeah, they just, they should be able to continue to do that, to sign up through Thursday. And that's totally fine. I did not, I'm so sorry, Tim, I will apologize, get your workbooks in the mail to you. I got a little overwhelmed here in the office, but we will get those out this week.
No problem. Sorry for misspeaking.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, definitely have your workbooks ready to go on Thursday if you can. If you can't and you're in the Lynchburg area and you need me to print one for you real fast, let me know, and you're welcome to come over to the Alliance and pick that up. I know, I don't have a printer at my house anymore, y'all. Isn't that weird? But yes, we will see you on Thursday. Be sure and check out createvirginia.com for the other things that we're adding. We'll be adding some new titles coming up in the next few days. Things like some of you may have been doing unemployment insurance, or some of the things that were available to you for the first time as sole proprietors during the COVID epidemic. We're going to have somebody from the Virginia Employment Commission to talk specifically to artists about some of those issues that you may be seeing. So again, if you know somebody who's really confused about that benefit, tell them to sign up, tell them about Create Virginia, and we will be able to share that with you. Yeah, it is confusing, Lamont. We're all very confused about it. So that's going to be on July 13th. I don't have the registration open for that yet, but that should be up by the end of the day today or early tomorrow. That's going to be a big one. Again, we have Sharice Chambers coming back to help us walk through that LLC and LLC process, or how to get your EIN. If you've been to Create before, you've probably seen Sharice speak. She is a wonderful, dynamic speaker. It's going to be fun. She's going to literally walk you through how to register your LLC. So be ready to get that chore checked off your checklist. We have tons of stuff coming up at the Virginia SBDC. You can see stuff across the state at virginiasbdc.org, and you can see stuff in our region at sbdclynchburgregion.org. I actually have a digital toolbox class coming up tonight at 6. I just added some more. We were full, but I went ahead and I added some more seats tonight in case anybody wanted to sign up for that. sbdclynchburgregion.org. I go over the 4 things that everybody needs, like Google My Business and how to get a free website. And those just real basic things that just a Google account will get you access to. And we have a full suite of Google training coming up that's also on that calendar. All of that stuff is free, you guys. Check us out. There's a ton of good training coming up. We will see you on Thursday. So see you back here. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye.